Janitor walks into CEO office. Everyone laughs till he signs the company check. The fluorescent lights hummed softly in the executive hallway of Meridian Technologies as Marcus Chen pushed his cleaning cart past the mahogany doors. His blue janitor's uniform a stark contrast to the expensive suits that usually filled these corridors. It was 6:47 p.m. on a Thursday evening, and most of the employees had already left for happy hour downtown, their laughter still echoing faintly through the marble-floored lobby 16 stories below. Marcus had worked at Meridian for 3 years, arriving before dawn and leaving after dark. His face familiar yet invisible to the people who rushed past him each day, too absorbed in their own importance to notice the man who kept their world clean. He'd immigrated from Taiwan 15 years ago with a master's degree in electrical engineering, and dreams that seemed impossibly bright, but life had a way of rewriting plans. And medical bills from his daughter's illness had rewritten his entirely. Tonight was different, though. Tonight he had something important to do, something that made his hands tremble slightly as he approached the CEO's corner office at the end of the hall. The door was partially open, and voices drifted out. Sharp with frustration and desperation, the kind of conversation that happens when people think no one important is listening. Marcus hesitated, his fingers gripping the handle of his mop. Knowing he should announce himself, but curious about the tension he could feel radiating from the room like heat from a furnace. "We're finished, David, completely finished," a woman's voice said. Brittle with panic, and Marcus recognized it as belonging to Jennifer Walsh, the chief financial officer who never made eye contact with him in the elevator. "The synthesis deal is dead. Chen Industries pulled out this afternoon. They won't return my calls, and without that partnership we'll be bankrupt by the end of the quarter," another voice added, this one belonging to David Reeves, the CEO who'd walked past Marcus 1,000 times without seeing him. Marcus took a breath and knocked gently on the doorframe, his presence finally registering to the 4 executives huddled around the conference table, their faces drawn with stress and scattered papers covering every surface. "Sorry to interrupt," Marcus said quietly, his accent still thick despite 15 years of practice. "I need to empty the trash and clean the windows before I finish my shift tonight." David Reeves looked up, his expression flickering with annoyance, and Jennifer actually laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that cut through the air like glass breaking against stone. "Are you seriously worried about trash right now?" Jennifer said, her voice dripping with condescension. "We're in the middle of a crisis. Company's collapsing. Maybe you could come back later when we're not trying to save everyone's jobs, including yours." The other 2 executives, Richard Porter and Susan Kim, exchanged uncomfortable glances but said nothing, their silence a form of agreement that stung more than words could have. Marcus felt the familiar heat of shame creep up his neck, the same feeling he got every time someone treated him like furniture, like something to be moved around rather than a person with thoughts and feelings and a whole life outside these walls. "I understand," Marcus said softly, starting to back out of the room. "I'll come back in the morning." But something in David's defeated expression made him pause. Something in the way the CEO's shoulders slumped forward like a man carrying weight he could no longer bear, and Marcus found himself speaking before he could stop himself. "Chen Industries," Marcus said, his voice stronger now. "Did you say Chen Industries pulled out of the synthesis deal?" Jennifer's laugh was cruel this time, full of mockery and disbelief. "Yes. Our janitor here is concerned about our corporate partnerships. That's exactly what we need right now." Business advice from the cleaning staff. "What company were you trying to partner with?" Marcus asked, ignoring her tone. his eyes fixed on David Reeves with an intensity that finally made the CEO actually look at him, really look at him, perhaps for the first time in 3 years. "Chen Industries out of Taipei," David said slowly. Confusion crossing his features. They're a major semiconductor manufacturer. We needed their chips for our new product line, but the owner, William Chen, he refused to even meet with us. Said something about not trusting American companies that don't respect their workers. The room fell silent, except for the soft hum of the air conditioning, and Marcus felt something shift inside him, a decision being made that would change everything, though he wasn't sure if it would make things better or impossibly worse. "William Chen is my brother," Marcus said quietly, the words landing like stones in still water, ripples spreading outward as the 4 executives stared at him with expressions ranging from disbelief to shock, to something that might have been fear. Jennifer's face went pale, her mouth opening and closing without sound, while Richard actually stood up from his chair, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his lips, in a gesture that would have been comical under different circumstances. "That's impossible," Susan whispered. "William Chen is one of the richest men in Taiwan. He owns half the semiconductor plants in East Asia. And you're telling us you're related to him? You, our janitor?"
Yeah.
Marcus reached into his uniform pocket and pulled out his wallet, extracting a worn photograph that he'd carried for years. A picture of 2 young men in graduation robes standing in front of National Taiwan University, their arms around each other's shoulders, their futures still bright with possibility. He placed the photo on the conference table, and David picked it up with trembling fingers, his eyes moving from the young face in the picture to Marcus's face now, aged by time and hardship but unmistakably the same person. "We were both engineers," Marcus said, his voice carrying the weight of years and choices and roads not taken. "William started his company. I came to America when my daughter got sick with leukemia. The treatments cost everything. I lost my engineering job during the recession, and I took whatever work I could find to pay the medical bills and keep my family afloat. I sent William money when I could. He sent me money when I'd let him, but I have pride. Maybe too much pride. I wanted to make it on my own here. To prove something to myself about perseverance and dignity and the value of honest work, no matter what form that work takes." The room had transformed, the air thick with shame and realization, as for people who'd made their careers stepping over others, suddenly understood that they'd been stepping over someone who could have changed everything if only they'd bothered to see him as human. "Last week," Marcus continued, pulling out his phone with hands that no longer trembled, "William called me, said he was considering a partnership with an American company called Meridian Technologies. Asked me what I thought about the people who worked here. Asked me if they were the kind of people who treated others with respect and dignity." Regardless of their position, Jennifer made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sob, as the full implications of her earlier cruelty crashed over her like a wave. "I told him the truth," Marcus said, his voice calm now, certain. "I said the executives barely noticed I existed, that they walked past me like I was invisible. That in 3 years not one of you had asked my name or said good morning or acknowledged that I was a person with a family and a history and dreams that mattered just as much as yours." David Reeves had gone completely white, his hands pressed flat against the conference table, as if to steady himself against the truth that was reshaping his understanding of the past 3 years and the catastrophic mistake they'd all been making. "William pulled out of the deal because of what I told him," Marcus said. "Built his company on the principle that every person deserves respect. From the CEO to the newest factory worker, he wouldn't partner with people who didn't share those values, no matter how profitable the deal might be. The silence stretched out, broken only by the sound of Jennifer crying softly into her hands, her carefully constructed superiority crumbling like a sandcastle at high tide. "But," Marcus said, and the word hung in the air like a lifeline thrown to drowning people, "I'm also a shareholder in Chen Industries. William gave me stock years ago when the company was just starting, and I've watched it grow into something remarkable, something built on principles that actually matter." He reached into his cart and pulled out a leather folder that had been hidden beneath cleaning supplies, opening it to reveal official documents embossed with the Chen Industries logo and stamped with corporate seals that gleamed gold in the office lights. "I have signing authority for partnerships under $50 million, Marcus said. Placing the documents on the table, William trusted me to make decisions that align with our company values. To find partners who understand that business is about more than profit, it's about how we treat each other as human beings." Richard found his voice first, hoarse and small. "Are you saying you can approve the partnership?" Marcus looked at each of them in turn, seeing them clearly now, not as the powerful executives who'd dismissed him, but as flawed people who'd made terrible choices and might possibly have the capacity to learn from them, Marcus said carefully. "But the question is whether Meridian Technologies deserves a partnership with a company that values human dignity above everything else. Whether the people in this room have learned anything from this moment, or whether you'll go back to treating invisible people as less than human the moment this crisis passes." David stood up slowly, his face transformed by shame and something that might have been the beginning of genuine understanding. And he did something Marcus had never seen in 3 years of working at Meridian Technologies. The CEO extended his hand, not for a business handshake, but for a genuine human connection. "I'm David Reeves, and I'm deeply sorry. We've been blind and cruel in everything William Chen suspected about us. You deserve so much better, and I can't undo 3 years of disrespect, but I can promise you that things will change, starting right now." Jennifer stood next, her mascara streaked but her eyes clearer than they'd been. "I'm Jennifer Walsh, and I have no excuse for how I treated you, especially today. I let pressure and fear turn me into someone I'm ashamed of. Someone who measures people's worth by their job titles rather than their character, one by one." They introduced themselves, really introduced themselves, as if meeting Marcus for the first time, which in a way they were, because they'd never actually seen him before this moment. Marcus listened, watched, measured their sincerity against years of experience reading people in their unguarded moments, the things they did when they thought no one important was watching. Finally, he picked up a pen, expensive and heavy, from the conference table where it had been abandoned during their earlier panic, and he signed his name on the partnership documents in firm, clear strokes that bound Chen Industries to Meridian Technologies for the next 5 years. "This partnership comes with conditions," Marcus said, his voice carrying authority they'd never heard before. "Meridian will establish a respect initiative. Every executive will spend 1 week each year working in non-management positions, learning the names and stories of the people who make this company run, and there will be regular anonymous surveys to ensure that everyone, regardless of their role, feels valued and heard." David nodded, relief and genuine commitment mixing in his expression. "Agreed. And Marcus, I want to offer you a position in our engineering department. Your skills are wasted on cleaning, and we clearly need your perspective in the rooms where decisions are made." But Marcus shook his head, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I appreciate the offer, but I'll stay where I am for now. My daughter is healthy now. The medical bills are finally paid, and I've learned that there's dignity in every honest work. The question was never whether my job was worth respect. The question was whether you had the wisdom to give it. Besides, he added, his smile growing wider, someone needs to keep these offices clean, and now when I push my cart through these halls, people will see me. They'll say good morning. They'll remember that the janitor is also an engineer, a brother, a father, and a human being whose story matters just as much as theirs. The partnership saved Meridian Technologies. The company not only survived but thrived. And true to David's word, the culture began to shift in ways both small and profound. With executives learning the names of custodians and security guards, maintenance workers and cafeteria staff, all the people who'd been invisible before becoming suddenly beautifully visible. Marcus continued pushing his cart through those marble halls, but now people stopped to talk, to ask about his daughter, to share their own stories and struggles, building connections that transcended job titles in corner offices. And sometimes late at night when the building was quiet, David Reeves would find Marcus in the executive hallway and they'd talk, not as CEO and janitor, but as two men who'd learned that the truest measure of success isn't found in bank accounts or business deals, but in how we treat the people we encounter every single day, especially those we might be tempted to overlook. Because dignity isn't determined by the work we do, but by the respect we show to everyone who does it. And sometimes the person pushing a mop knows more about true value than those of us sitting in the biggest offices making the biggest decisions. The real wealth in any organization flows from recognizing the humanity in every person who walks through its doors. From understanding that titles are temporary, but character is permanent. And from remembering that the janitor signing a company check might just save more than your business, he might save your soul.